Welcome back to the channel. I'm Austin, and today I'm going to be comparing the PKM versus the Stoner and discussing which one is the best LMG in Warzone. I'm going to go over the basic stats first, then give my opinion on which one you should use, and stick around for the class setups at the end. Let's start by discussing where the Stoner is better than the PKM, and the main stat that people really care about when it comes to Warzone is going to be time to kill, and that's where the Stoner shines. Its TTK within 40 meters with only body shots is 501 milliseconds, killing in 7 shots, which is actually just really fast in the game in general, and if you compare that to the PKM, its time to kill is 560 milliseconds with 8 shots to kill. And if you hit all headshots with these weapons, the Stoner is going to be 5 shots to kill with 334 milliseconds, and once again the PKM takes 1 more shot to kill, and that raises its TTK to 400 milliseconds. So this isn't only fast for LMGs, this just stands up well against all weapons in Warzone, so they're both really strong options, and the Stoner's TTK beats out the PKM due to it having higher damage across the board, with a 37 to 34 advantage on body shots and a 51 to 46 advantage on headshots. The final benefit that the Stoner is going to give you is that it is significantly faster in reload time. The Stoner reloads in about 5 seconds, whereas the PKM takes about 8, so this just means you can get back into the fight a lot quicker. And if you're using an LMG, you're typically more of a support role because you're going to be moving around slower. The guys with the ARs and SMGs are going to be running around, but both of these weapons are really just bullet hoses and can just absolutely suppress fire and knock people down really quickly. Now that you think the Stoner is running away with the best LMG in Warzone race, let me tell you where the PKM is better. Surprisingly, it has better movement speed and ADS than the Stoner, and if you just went by appearance of the weapons, you'd think the PKM looks a lot clunkier, but it is faster, I promise you. Then while the PKM does have a really slow reload time, it does have a bigger base mag size with 100 rounds versus 75 for the Stoner, and that's useful because you don't have to reload as often, and you do not need to waste an attachment on a different magazine. Then probably the biggest pro to the PKM is its recoil. While the Stoner only has vertical recoil, the Cold War optics are definitely inferior to the Modern Warfare ones. If you just use the Axial Arms 3x scope on the Stoner, the optic is going to shake severely, which doesn't actually technically affect the recoil, but it certainly messes up a lot of people's aim. And if you use the SUSAT sight, where you get none of that visual like shaking of your optic, it's going to severely hurt your ADS. So either way, the Stoner is going to have to take a disadvantage in the recoil department, while the PKM is an absolute laser and is incredibly easy to aim after you put on attachments. And this pairs perfectly with its benefit that it has superior TTK at long range. So after you get past that little intermediate to close range with the Stoner, then the PKM takes over for TTK. And having 100 rounds in the mag, this thing is a monster from 50 to 150 meters. Finally, the one area where these two weapons are nearly identical is the range. The PKM's max damage range is going to be 39 meters, whereas the Stoner's is 40. This means that the PKM's TTK overtakes the Stoner's at 41 meters and so on. And for the final verdict on which weapon I would recommend is the #1 LMG in Warzone, it's going to be the PKM, and my reasoning for this is going to start with it being extremely consistent and much easier to use over range than the Stoner. And while the Stoner is great up close and is one of the fastest killing LMGs, but also one of the fastest killing ARs up close, it just doesn't make sense for this to be an LMG strong suit. The Stoner is actually better than most of the sniper support ARs up close, but with its horrendous handling stats, it's obviously going to be worse than ARs, but it's not only worse than the ARs, it's worse than the PKM's handling stats. So strong up close, bad handling stats doesn't really make sense. It doesn't mesh together very well. That's why I had to go with the PKM, and LMGs are just better suited for mid to long range engagements, and this is where the PKM is actually better than the Stoner with its recoil, TTK, and its optics. So while I still think the Stoner is a very viable weapon within Warzone, I just think the PKM is better at being an LMG, what they're actually supposed to do, so it wins. Now let's get into these classes for each weapon. Time for the Stoner setup. We're going to start this off with a muzzle, and you can't go wrong with the agency suppressor because it all around is going to help this weapon. First off, it keeps you off the radar so you aren't shown on that mini-map. gets you more vertical recoil control so you can hit your bullets more effectively, extra bullet velocity so it's more like hit scan, and it helps you extend that max damage range where the weapon really shines. So we're going to be focusing on that max damage range again with the barrel, with the 21.8 task force, because we really want this weapon's max damage on it for as long as we can get, because that's what we need. Outside of that, it turns into an okay weapon, but in that first 40 meters it kills, and these first two attachments is going to add a little bit onto that range. So now what we're going to be doing, because that barrel is going to hurt your recoil a little bit, so we need to get that back down. So on the underbarrel, we're going to be using the Field Agent Grip, which helps with the vertical and horizontal recoil. Next, we're going to need an optic so we can hit our shots more effectively, and I prefer the Axial Arms 3x scope because it doesn't affect ADS like the SUSAT, and if this LMG is going to be good up close, we're not going to be wanting to hurt your aim down sight speed any more than the weapon just naturally sucks basically with that. So we're finally going to be going to a fast mag because it has no negative effects on ADS, so as you can see, none of our attachments hurt our ADS, so we're keeping that intact. And the fast mag basically just enhances its already really fast reload. If you recall, it already only had a 5-second reload. With this fast mag, you're going to be taking a second off of that. So basically, this is going to be a pretty fast reloading LMG. You're not going to be out of the action that long when you got to reload. Now it's time for my recommendation, the PKM. We're going to be starting off with a no-brainer attachment, the monolithic suppressor. It keeps you off the radar while also boosting your range, a perfect combination. Then, for the barrel to pair with this suppressor to enhance your max damage range even more, the 26.9 extended barrel. But this barrel also beautifully increases your accuracy. And then probably the most important attachment on the PKM that truly makes it a beam is the snatch grip. It not only helps you aim, it helps your ADS, but it comes with one con of slowing your movement speed down, but that's why you pair it with an SMG. You're not going to be running an open field with your LMG out. If you are, you're doing something wrong. And we're going to be adding attack laser to further improve your ADS and steady your aim. So basically all these attachments are making the weapon more accurate and getting the ADS speed up. That way you're not completely screwed if you have it out and someone rushes you. You can still get your sights aimed down fairly quickly for an LMG. Sure, if it's a sub you might still get outgunned, but if someone's using a sniper support AR, you should be pretty comparable to it if they aren't using too many ADS enhancing attachments. And finally, we're going to have to add an optic, of course. I have the Corp Combat Holo sight on, but I do have the blue dot that makes the sight super clean. There's nothing obstructing your vision there. It's just one clean blue dot in the middle. Now, I'm going to assume that most of you don't have this blue dot unlocked because, well, that was really a really long grind to unlock. And honestly, I don't recommend it because I don't think it's worth it when you still have a VLK 3x scope that has super clean sights as well. Not quite as good, but the VLK 3x scope is great, and if you use this, you're going to have zero problems hitting your shots. And a couple caveats I want to talk about on the rest of the class setup for the Stoner as well as the PKM is you're going to have to use AMP for your third perk for faster weapon swaps, because without it, you're going to be caught swapping to your LMG probably, and you might get taken out because swapping to an LMG is really slow if you don't have amped. So make sure to run amped on your class. And then number two, of course, as I mentioned a little earlier, use an SMG with them, and I would recommend a Bullfrog, PPSH, or one of the MP5s. Any of those will do. They're the top 4 SMGs within Warzone. If you want to see a comparison on those in the future, let me know, leave a comment. And of course, finally, for the love of God, use EOD. No other first perk is even close to being as useful and life-saving as EOD. It baffles me anytime someone uses a different perk in the slot 1. EOD stops explosions from completely screwing you over. Like, one RPG won't kill you unless it direct impacts you if you have EOD. A C4, a Semtex, one of them hitting you, not going to do that much. All to run a little faster, not worth it. Not worth it at all. There's vehicles for moving faster, okay? Use EOD. Okay, now that rant's over, I think that's about going to wrap up my comparison, and I hope you guys start running the PKM in Warzone. Let me know how you're liking it. Make sure to like and subscribe on this video if you're still watching, and if you want to see more weapon comparisons, feel free to check out our other content on the channel, and have a great day. Peace.